we always, emphasize, the importance of just being a great classmate or a teammate and just be a good person. Be open-minded, respect your classmates. The activity that we're going to do today is a great example of kids putting that into practice. We try to do Socratic Seminars in my class at least once per 9 weeks, if not once per unit, which we have 6 of them. We have, I guess we call it an inner and outer circle. I just kind of have a table in the middle of the room, and then, kids on the outside that are observing and taking notes on how the people doing the discussing are doing. We have a little check sheet on how many times people speak, if they use accountable talk, which is basically a respectful way to answer and invite others to speak and share, so that they're given a prompt. And today's is based off of the main character from a classic story, you may have heard of it, called The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. It fits with our unit, which is Unit 2, The Thrill of Horror. The narrator of The Telltale Heart insists from the start that he is not mad. Do you believe him? Use evidence from the text to prove whether the narrator of the story is actually insane or not. So they're going to be discussing that. We've kind of divided up which side the students are going to defend, and they found text evidence from the actual story and to play based off of the Telltale Heart. I also challenged them to look at the opponent's viewpoint for evidence and to do a little bit of background research on the topic and the time period, just to add more to the conversation. And of course, we have something called the hot seat, which is for the kids in the outer circle who are just having to share something right then to add to the conversation. And so they hop in there and they wait kind of patiently for someone in the inner circle to be like, what you got? It turns out to be a very in-depth conversation. We always encourage, the kids to, it's not necessarily a debate, more so a discussion, and it's an opportunity for them to really practice being polite and showing what they can do with text evidence. Something that I thought was really cool today in both class periods so far, kids were mid-conversation just getting up to go get their textbook off the shelf, to dig through there and to find something that they could use to defend their thought. And what is that? That doesn't happen. So now officially, I can sit back and watch you guys be brilliant.
I think he's not insane. According to Merriam-Webster, someone who is mad is unable to think in a clear or sensible way, but we know that he was from the way that he was planned out the murder and actually did it. He was thorough, and especially in hiding the body, even so much so that he was confident that the police weren't able to see it, so he had the tea party or whatever over it.
If I add something onto that, so I agree with you, but to elaborate just a little bit more, he could distinguish fantasy from reality. He could feel guilt, at the end, he could feel remorse and guilt, and he was thinking logically about what he was doing with the body.
Yeah, I agree with what both you said, because in the text, it says, he states multiple times, explicitly, he says, would a madman be so wise as this? And he says, madness, I'm not mad, because I feel like he's just too aware in too much of a clear state of mind to be insane.
There's also a reason why he heard the beating heart. It is stated that, hang on here, Death Watch beetles infested the walls of the place, which they make a thumping sound similar to, that can be seen as similar to a beating heart with their heads.
So he could be suffering from another mental disorder such as schizophrenia, or really paranoid, bipolar disorder, or something called hyperacusis, which is according to USCF Health, it's a disorder in loudness perception.
I have to disagree with you on that, because it just sorry to say this, but it just kind of sounds like you're making a guess on whether or not he may have a mental disorder, but you don't have any actual confirmation.
Well, in the beginning of the text, it does say that the disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed them, not dulled them. So I think that could be implying that he has something.
Yeah. Aside from his current cognitive state, can we discuss the ravens? Because they seemed a little out of place. In the play, you know how the ravens were talking?
Yeah.
I see that as if he was imagining that. Like the ravens weren't really there, but it was like his conscience.
And the hardest thing to do is to say time's up when kids are, really into it and sharing. If there's ever, a student or two that aren't engaged, I do my best to figure out, okay, well, are you confused on what we're doing or are you bored? And whichever answer that is, I try my best to encourage kids, hey, well, let's find some value in this and get going. If they know where things are and what's expected, confidence comes from that, and then they'll do better work. I always tell me, don't ask what's for a grade, just do your best on whatever we do, because it's, life's not about getting grades necessarily, it's about getting better and trying your best at things.